Yo, 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 Eric Rosen, Viking Rising Astrology. I wanted to give a little bit more of the feminine perspective of this full moon lunar eclipse in Pisces that kicks off officially. We'll feel it. I mean, we're feeling it now, but on the 17th of this month. And it's going to have implications. It's going to be making waves for this next 6 months. And so I did a video that was a little bit more in the masculine variety, sort of like calling out the hypocrisy, I think, of people's existence on, dare I say, planet Earth, and getting sucked into media stuff, bypassing just their own levels of self-deceit. But what I really want to speak to is for those of you that already, are walking that spiritual path, that, have self-awareness, that have intuition, like how to better utilize this, because I went into it a little bit in the video, but I wanted to drop in just a little bit deeper. And the number one thing to really start with on this lunar eclipse is making copious amounts of space for emotions to be felt. Because it can be that eclipse that breaks any addictive sort of patterns, escapism, maybe where we have like trouble just like letting go of things, like letting go, like God, as the saying goes, that we can replace those places, where we maybe sometimes want to reach outside of ourselves to fill some void in ourselves and to go more into the emotional underbelly of things. It's almost like finding the spot in the ocean of our emotions that has a different temperature to it. The things that affect us really deeply on a psychological level. Those emotions that sometimes maybe we want to suppress in order to just like keep going in life. And so I've been calling this an opportunity to really slow down and to really witness what are the beliefs, what are the patterns that are playing out. And even for me as an astrologer, it's difficult. It's once the waking hours of the day are flowing, it's easy to want to, be productive and do XYZ things and, run a schedule. I mean, it's Virgo season, right? It's Sun in Virgo, so full moon lunar eclipse is the opposite sign of Pisces, but it is taking this opportunity to see what's going on in the unconscious mind. And so, a way I've been using this is to witness, what is going on in my unconscious mind, just asking the question. You can meditate on this idea, you can journal about it, you can go for walks and reflect and see what is it behind the threshold of our thinking that's influencing our behavior, because it's the biggest component of it. There's this boundless unconscious nature to this universe. And so when we get asked that question and we open ourselves up to intuitively feeling into what the answer is, we get an opportunity to surrender that negative story or belief, especially if it feels dualistic in nature, that it's like laced with like guilt or shame of like somehow, right and wrong sort of thinking, judgments. And really you're the commander in chief. You get to choose what better story that you want to have in life. But that's why we go into the unconscious. But I've seen some astrologers too wanting to single out some transits like leading up to this, like for example, Jupiter in Gemini trining Venus in Libra, and highlighting the benefits of planets like that for your manifestation and relationships and all that. But I feel the most important thing on this eclipse is to not psych ourselves out by going into the illusion of life more, by just like wishing upon a star for what we want, but not actually making the subconscious shifts within ourselves to shift these things, bringing the unconscious awareness into the conscious awareness, and then using the power of the levels of mind to go, okay, this is the new story that I want to have. This is the new thing that I do want to manifest, and turning it over to the subconscious. But then having to develop ourselves on a self-mastery level to make behavioral changes to really align our vibration with that which we actually want to attract in life. Because, otherwise, throwing around terms of manifestation is really just a lazy man's way of saying, I don't want to change myself, do the work, take action in more of a masculine way, and then I hope it shows up. And that's not going to work. Manifestation now is very much a game of we get what we are, what we're vibrating at, not what we want. And that's one of the biggest issues I see with the whole spiritual manifestation community and horoscopes and channelings for, whether it's this eclipse or other transits, where it's like no one talks about, well, what happens when you've been manifesting the thing and it's still not showing up, and you just have someone, an intuitive or an astrologer or even yourself, just like blowing that pink fairy smoke and be like, just a little longer, just a little longer. In the Matrix movie, Morpheus believed without a doubt, without a shadow of a doubt, that when Neo reached the architect of the Matrix, that the prophecy would be fulfilled and the war would be over. And it wasn't, because Neo got there and realized it was just another control, that he was given basically the illusion of limited choices, that he could either let the world burn down that he lived in, the real world, or save the love of his life. And, Morpheus had a hard time believing, because he believed so deeply that, that things were going to work out in terms of the manifestation piece of it, of the vision. And so I think this is where we had to also humble ourselves, like spiritually, with this astrology, knowing that this eclipse is also building into a solar eclipse in Libra that's going to have Venus and Scorpio. It's a South Node solar eclipse. And Mars is starting to slow down because it's going to retrograde at the end of the year. So I think it's seeing the bigger picture, that it's like there's an end game energy to this, that, have our dreams, our visions, our manifestations, but there's more work to do. There's way more healing to do. There's way more steps to take. There is just, whatever it is that's been painted in the imagination, that somehow you're going to get to a point where then something will be fulfilled. It just causes delays. It just causes, even issues of letting go, to allow things to actually come to fruition in their own divine timing. With Pluto and Capricorn, there's a great mystery of when these goals are actually achieved. And we also have to look out into the world in general too, and see how's the scoreboard looking out there, things just don't operate the way that they did before 2020. And so a lot of these spiritual sort of beliefs that we abide by, I think we have to actually start like really witnessing the patterns, the beliefs, and see, is it actually producing the results? And if it's not, that's an easy adjustment to make, if it's a willingness to let go. And I think ultimately it still always comes back to going, okay, how much is this eclipse really about people wanting to make their dreams come true in these next few months, versus just weaving a path of humble, spiritual, loving service into whatever the physical reality has presented to itself, and being okay to lovingly accept that too. Just the constructs of reality, the limitations in the physical, even the limitations of the mind beyond what it can perceive in terms of its interpretation of how the circumstances are going or how we want things to go. So basically, this is just we can psych ourselves up and get into the feel-good energy of things, but at the end of the day, there is like a piece of grounding into just, the truth that there is a mundaneness to reality. There is a circumstances that can't be avoided, conversations to have with people. There's just a lot. It's a long journey, and I think that's part of what this lunar eclipse highlights too, is that we're just releasing another cycle of a long journey, and coming into the end of this year of 2024 and knowing how big the astrology is for transitional times in 2026, it's like, I don't think it's a good time to burn ourselves out either. In general, I've been saying that Pluto in Capricorn is very much this like go out and achieve it and notch the wins type of energy and keep going, leveling up, but it's also remembering it is Mars in Cancer and eclipses, and so things are definitely moving out for the past 6 months, and then we'll start new cycles. And so it's being careful not to get the predicate of the manifestation that you want, that you're so certain of, before you're okay with like the behavioral subconscious re-identification phase of the spiritual gateway to those goals and how you flow to them, but also even the relationships that are going to even be a part of those with the solar eclipse that's up and coming in Libra. So I would just use this energy to, keep slowing down, be the canvas and the paintbrush and the artist all in one of the creative element of your life, and tune that frequency if it's not feeling great, but then also, show up to doing awesome things and creating great things, because, at the end of the day, there are opportunities out there to show up and create and go further than we ever have, but it's also making sure that we're being gentle and graceful with ourselves too during this time. But the leading energy is always going to be going, well, what is failure? Failure is not trying at all. Failure is not even giving it a shot, right? And there are opportunities for us to show up and go bigger into opportunities, and to really flesh those opportunities out, and to explore them, because the worst thing to do with this energy is basically to get lulled into sleep and thinking that you're waiting for some hero or something to change in life, and then you can do it or feel better, or waiting to see what happens, especially on a national scale or with a relationship. It's no, the only thing that's left in a matrix system that's breaking down is just our own creativity. It's our own creative element of things. And so it's going and doing those bigger things that you feel called to do. And that's where you bring the vision and the imagination in. So I think that's what we have to start to ask ourselves. It's if it's a low risk creation in life, then go create, go do it, see what happens. It produces soul growth, soul reflection. Doing nothing though, just whitewashing and laying around and going into too much into the 5D and stuff like that. This isn't the astrology for that. This is much more rooted and anchored into bringing that spiritual state of being into our creations. And that, especially I'm lucky I don't let people around me like this because they know, but it's like, if you have anyone in your life telling you still what to do or not to do, fuck them. Like, get the fuck away from that, or at least put up a boundary or psychological boundary. You know, if you got people being reactive, trying to tell you how they feel, but also like pushing like blame on you, like it's your responsibility, their emotional state, fuck that. Like, yeah, listen to how people are feeling, obviously. Don't be freaking narcissist, but it's like, at the same time, you know, not letting people dump right now and playing victim, and or even surrounding us, like letting crazy people around us that are doing weird shit that we're just like, what the hell are you doing? You know, it's time for empathy and compassion, but also with meaning behind it. You know, okay, compassion, empathy for lessons, for growth, for, you know, stepping out of patterns and slip ups and sabotage and just all these different things, relationships or otherwise. But then it's going, okay, but then what's the plan though after that? Like, is there a game plan for self-development? Is there a game plan for business, finance, health? Like, there has to be, you know, kind of the tried and true path of just like, how did people build foundations of nations? They went and they did it, you know? And so this is where we almost have to be founding our own more natural spiritual philosophy in our lives of like what we're building or rebuilding or rehabbing, and like, don't worry about what other people are doing in family or community. Like, if you know intuitively that it's not in alignment, and it's not about being in conflict with that stuff. It's just more so about being a way shower. Like, this is weird, because this is where even the best light workers like fade out, you know, because they got some bumps and bruises, and they're just like, they don't know what else to do except put in like a rerun, you know, of life. And it's like, there's always another place to go. There's always another frequency or vision or dream or aspiration that hasn't been done yet, at least not in the way that you can do it. And those are the creations. And so see some people like overthinking, hesitating, delaying, creating stuff right now. And it's just like, you just go and you just do it. 70% of the population is generators and manifesting generators. So generators just do it, and they do it sequentially. Manifesting generators, like, you kind of got to wait to respond, but you just know it when it's time. And then sometimes you're prone to skip steps, but then whatever, you go back and you fucking fix it. You know, it's just like, but if you don't do it, how does one ever know? So it's kind of a last call, you know, for people's spiritual gifts. Like, most of the world is going to be, it's like last call of that last Netflix episode for the night, that last call for alcohol at the bar, that last remark someone wants to get in debating about politics. And it's just like, you know, let this be the last call for an opportunity to actually be more of the boss of your own path, of your own dreamscape, of like where you want things to go. It's creation time. It's really what it comes down to. So if you want to learn, this is so weird to say after that, but if you want to learn about your natal chart, $33. I did an ebook on it. If you want to learn about Pluto and Capricorn, that's $8. You can click on that link down below for either one of them. Pluto and Capricorn for your zodiac sign, your sun, your rising sign. And then if you want to book a reading, you can book that as well. Yeah, these are really great opportunities for people to show up in the way that they've really been wanting to. And if you've already been doing that, it's about showing up even more now. All right, love you all. Take care.